In prehistory, some poor tribes stole from their neighbors. This was the case with the group of tribes we call the Lusitanian tribes in nowadays Iberia. Hello everyone, I'm Argila, welcome to this video about prehistory, about the Lusitanians. These peoples inhabited a poor region of Portugal and Spain, very mountainous, not very proper for cultivating the land, and because of that they were poor. So they inhabited nowadays central and north Portugal and parts of Spain. They were a group of different peoples that we grouped together as the Lusitanians, but they were different tribes. They had different names. They sometimes attacked each other as well. They sometimes traded with each other, but they shared the same language. They shared a similar culture, so we call them the Lusitanians. And in the past, they were called the Lusitanians as well, by the outsiders, by the Romans. The ancient sources tell us that these people were very poor. They lived a very hard life. They slept on the ground, they walked barefoot, and they ate once a day. In order to survive, the Lusitanians had to steal from neighboring tribes. This was their means of survival. There was no other way. Obviously, they became a nuisance to everyone in Iberia. When the Romans started colonizing and conquering Iberia, however, the Lusitanians were forced into the mountains because they just had nowhere else to go. They had to protect themselves, protect their lives, so they went to the mountains, which made it so that the Lusitanians had even less food, even less resources, and because of this, they started robbing even more, not just their neighboring tribes, but also the new Roman settlements in the places that the Romans had conquered and colonized. The Lusitanians were one of the autochthonous indigenous peoples of Iberia before the Roman conquest and colonization. Nowadays, the modern country of Portugal traces back its ancient roots to the Lusitanians, much like nowadays Greece traces back their ancient cultural roots to ancient Greece and Egypt to ancient Egypt. The Lusitanian culture and language gradually started to disappear to the point where there is barely anything left nowadays, after many years and years of Roman colonization and conquest and erasure of this culture. This happened more than 2,000 years ago, but the Romans fully conquered the Iberian Peninsula in 19 BCE. So from there on, all of the cultures, indigenous, autochthonous cultures in Iberia, we can say that they disappeared or they were in extinction because very little was left. Less and less people spoke the language, less and less people worshipped their gods, less and less people did things the way they used to. Now, another very interesting thing, as a person who was born in the modern country of Portugal, I've always learned that Portugal was never self-sufficient in terms of agriculture and food production to itself. It seems like Portugal's, yes, there are regions that Portugal can produce a lot of agriculture, but a lot of this agriculture is very specific. For example, olives in the south, or vineyards for wine in the north, which makes it so that Portugal is not producing enough to sustain itself, its peoples, much like the Lusitanians. And I wonder, is this why Portugal is a poor economical country in the modern sense in Europe? It's a good question. Another thing that is important to mention is that Portugal as a modern country only appeared in the 800s in medieval Europe as a Christian country, much after the collapse of the Roman Empire, much after the Roman colonization, much after the Lusitanians and every other indigenous autochthonous peoples of Iberia had disappeared. Let me know if you would like to know more about the Lusitanian tribes. I'm Argila, have a nice TikTok break, and as always,